Imagine for a second being a woman. There's a guy, he's a friend of yours, he's a cool dude, but you don't really feel attracted to him. Which of course is a little sad because he seems very nice. He helps you out when you're in trouble, he listens to you when you need to vent, you know, the kind of stuff that friends do for each other. Now, if you are a woman watching this video, you might be feeling that little bit of a spidey sense tingle in the back of your neck, going, ooh, the nervous anticipation, because you know where this is going. You've probably been there before. At some point, the guy confesses that he has a huge crush on you, but you, of course, are still not romantically interested in him. Now, most of the time, this goes well, or as well as this kind of scene goes. It's something that happens every day. All of the roles have been cast with all of the genders. It's a normal human experience. But there's always this slight chance that once rejected, this particular guy, as nice as he always seemed, might get really, really angry. Even though chances are the worst he will do is scream abuse at you, that's hardly the kind of activity you'd plan for a spa day. Nobody enjoys that shit. Not to mention, it can be quite scary. And this is a pattern of behavior that you can see repeated in many different contexts by a lot of different people. The most common scenario you'll encounter on the internet is some guy hitting up a girl, probably one that he's never texted before, with a pickup line that's cheesier than really just brilliantly pungent 3-year-old Irish cheddar. And then when she doesn't respond basically immediately, he goes, "Oh, you fucking bitch, cunt, whore, slut, I will stuff your dog into my asshole." But less obviously, it also happens outside of a romantic context. This has happened to me simply because I am a person who is out there, and there are a lot of you who have a parasocial relationship with me. Like, you know a lot about me, and I'm a part of your life, but I really don't even know that you exist because there's a lot of you. And you know, wherever you are, whoever you are, I hope you're having a great day. I take care to and actually enjoy generally interacting with my fans. I tend to respond to emails and messages that I receive, but I also need to set healthy boundaries. Like, a lot of people that I consider to be sort of internet friends of mine, which I'm not even sure there's that much of a distinction between real friends and internet friends beyond the way that you interact, they started out as fans of mine, and I'm sure that there's a lot of fans of mine with whom I would be great friends. But the thing is, I don't have the time or energy to be friends with everyone. And most people, they know and understand this. They're fine with it. That's as far as the relationship goes, and they're completely okay with that. I mean, there's people that I have a parasocial relationship with. I realize that that's the same thing. They don't know I exist. I know they exist, and I appreciate them as people, but it's never gonna go beyond that. Some, very, very few, have not taken kindly to my boundary setting, though. And I know, like, bigger YouTubers and also just other sort of like celebrities who get yelled at in public because, I don't know, they had a busy day, they're just completely fucking wasted, not in the wasted kind of way. And somebody wants to take a picture with them, they're like, "Can I please just drink this soda here on a park bench and cry?" And then people get mad and yell at them what fucking assholes they are, that they wouldn't take a picture with me. And while it is primarily men who react this way, women do that also. It's just, it seems to a much lesser extent, so I think that the underlying problem is something that transcends gender. But why do these people feel like they're owed something, especially in the romantical context, and why do they get so mad when they're rejected? It's really easy to just dehumanize these people and declare them evil, broken, or, you know, entitled or whatever. And I do want to make clear that I firmly believe that if you reject someone who has made an advance on you, no matter how much work they have done for you or whatever, you are morally and ethically in the clear. It is healthy self-interest to set those kind of boundaries and not get into a relationship with someone just because they were nice to you. And it also would be unfair to that person if you lied to them about it. They might disagree on that, but that is unethical. Making such an advance on someone with these kinds of expectations is very immature behavior, but it doesn't, as many believe, come from a place of feeling superior. You're not being commodified by someone who thinks that they have a right to own you, but by someone who has a deep, deep lack of self-worth. That anger that is hurled at you is a defense mechanism against something that you are ultimately not responsible for. You know you know how being a medieval knight to all of us is a completely relatable experience, and you will know what I'm talking about. You know when they like charge on the horses with the lance and then they go down the track and there's like a dummy that has a shield in one hand and like a big morning star in the other, and they hit the shield and the dummy swerves and hits them with the... It might be the other way around too. I think it's the other way around because you need to hit it. It doesn't matter. That dummy. You know what I'm talking about. You are that dummy. And that person is hitting that dummy and basically hitting themselves with the morning star. And the reason for this is that fundamentally these people do not think of themselves as people worth dating or being with. This is very, very deeply ingrained in their psyche. They think that no woman or man could ever possibly like them for who they are. And they may not even be aware of that because we are very rarely aware of the underlying issues that cause our psychological problems. The idea that someone could like them for who they are, maybe they fantasize about it, but they don't actually consider it a realistic possibility. Instead, the only method that they have of proving that they are a worthwhile romantic prospect is to perform services for people. Now, services are great. I love helping people out, especially my friends. Being someone that people can rely on is a very positive trait to have. But for these people, at least in their own mind, it's the only thing that they have going for them. They don't value themselves as more than the sum of the services that they have performed for any given individual person. To them, that is the only chance that they will ever have at being loved. So now in that situation where they do confess their feelings to you, because it's always a confession, they're putting you in a place where you have enormous power over them that you never asked for. They take that one leap of faith, trusting in the value of the services that they have provided instead of the value of themselves as a person. Now, being rejected by someone always hurts. Even if possibly it's a person you weren't even interested in and for some reason there was a situation where they rejected you in some manner. It always scratches the ego, but usually, you think, okay, well, it didn't work with this person. There's plenty of other people out there. I'm still a cool individual with nice titties and a big dick. But in this situation, it utterly annihilates this shell of worth that they have built through services. The only method that they can possibly conceive of to be liked by the people that they like is annihilated. This leads to a realization that no matter what they do, they will never feel someone else's affectionate touch or be adored in the way that they so desperately crave, because we all crave these things. Being in such an emotionally vulnerable state, contemplating that kind of cosmic possibility is terrifying. And the first emotion that we jump to in order to avoid being scared is anger. Immediately, the pain of the lack of self-worth is thrown at the person that has rejected you. They hurt you so much just now and right there, and they don't even seem affected by it. Even despite everything that you've done for them, you're not good enough for them. That means you will never be good enough for anyone. This sense of pain and desperate disappointment leads to an overwhelming urge to hurt that other person, to make them feel, even though really you crave their affection, the way that you do, this immense, deep agony. You need them to understand how utterly demolished you are, just so it feels a little less terrible for you. And anyone who's gone through a breakup will have some level of experience with this. They will be able to relate. Like, even if you're the person who's doing the breaking up, your self-worth will take a hit. And this is especially true when they are very invested, when they have put a lot of work into this particular relationship, which again, very immature behavior. Humans are not vending machines. But it is born out of this fundamental belief that they as people are themselves not worth anything, so any worth they could have to others is derived from their services. Dismissing those services, or even just dismissing the purpose that those services served, at that point utterly demolishes everything that they have built their self-worth around. A self-worth that is very fragile to begin with. That is why they lash out. They feel attacked and hit critically in a place that hasn't been able to heal for many, many years. And some have so little self-worth that they will deliberately sabotage themselves out of self-hatred. Again, they won't really be aware of this, that they're punishing themselves, but it happens. They will act in manners that are just completely unacceptable, using just the shittest pickup techniques on people that clearly are not interested in them, or people that they have just met that might at some point be interested in them, who even knows, immediately destroying that prospective relationship just to be able to tell themselves that they're worthless. They will reject people who are interested in them, often not even realizing that that was the case. They will have enormously high standards that no person could possibly ever meet, simply to make sure that they will never encounter a person that they could actually have a relationship with. They will idealize people to just a crazy extent and then get mad when their expectations aren't met from those people, just to make sure that no healthy relationship can ever develop. That shit doesn't come from a place of entitlement, it comes from a place of pain. And you know, I do this thing where I try to understand people to a degree where I can just completely put myself in their mindsets. It's probably not a healthy thing to do because it's caused me some emotional problems occasionally, but I do it for my art, I do it to understand the characters that I write. And let me tell you, I have regretted most serial killers less than putting myself in the emotional shoes of the kind of guy that donates $1,000 to Pokimane with the expectation and fantasy that they will one day get married. I mean, maybe this is because serial killers are just a bit farther removed from who I am as a person, so I can't really emulate their internal emotional world as well as I might an angry simp. But even when your name flashes across the screen, Pokimane does not know who you are. She is appreciative of the money, certainly, and I do think that what she does is a completely legitimate hustle. But at that point, she is rejecting someone without even being aware of it, who had certain expectations that they never even made clear. This is a degree of self-delusion coupled with a degree of a lack of self-worth that just thinking about it makes me sick to my stomach. These people are doubly removed from reality. They think of themselves as having absolutely no worth as a person whatsoever, and then use an additional layer of self-delusion that this e-girl is gonna fall in love with them because they donated $1,000 to her, or really any amount of money. And they have the second layer of self-delusion to protect themselves from the effects of the first. It's a defense mechanism from something that is so utterly unbearable that the mind will go to great lengths to avoid ever thinking about it. And in that moment, that gets shattered. But I want to once again make clear that I do not believe that the person doing the rejecting bears any amount of responsibility morally or ethically for what has happened. You are not responsible for the horrific circumstances that made this person so utterly broken on the inside. You did not create those circumstances, and it is not your responsibility to save everyone. This is a lesson that I had to learn. And even if they tell you otherwise, because, you know, the mind gets to justify some fucked up shit when it comes to not confronting things that it really doesn't want to confront on the inside. And so suddenly, emotional manipulation seems like an okay thing because it's just an emotional survival tactic. Now, there are also manipulative bastards. That's a different category of person that you need to be wary of independent of that. But most of the time, that kind of behavior comes from a place of pain. And I realize and even have a lot of empathy for the fact that it is a lot easier emotionally to dehumanize this kind of behavior and call it male entitlement or some other pseudo-academic term, instead of facing it as the behavior born out of the terrible, terrible life circumstances that it actually is. People don't really want to cause any amount of pain in another person's life, even if they didn't really have a choice in the matter. Remember that this person is ultimately hurting themselves. You are just the training dummy in this scenario. But sometimes it's really difficult for things that are objectively not your fault to not still feel responsible for what happened. So I get wanting to distance oneself from that, but I think that it isn't the healthiest thing to do. At least not always. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, maybe buying some of my merchandise or my short story collection. I don't know why I had that pause. It wasn't even particularly dramatic or theatrical. I just put it there. And in that spirit, I mean, I've already told you to consider some moral implications and stuff and wait, and just remember it's not really your fault and these people need therapy. If there's any other advice that I can give you, it's the advice that I always give to everyone. Get some therapy. And see you around, cunts.